if I've remembered how to run the podcast, we should be live now. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Arcadia Round Table. This is the first time that we've convened around a little table for quite a while, and as you can see, we've got everyone back together. Everyone's back together for a special treat of a show. So thank you for your patience in waiting for us to get started. It's been a week of disasters, and it extended all the way to Jersey and took out Luke's internet for today. But we're all back. We're online. We're here. Hopefully you can hear us. Hopefully you're having a good evening. Luke.
Yeah.
Use that fine internet to tell us how you've been.
Well, I was well until it went down. And then I was angry. And then my coffee got cold. So I was angrier. But then I drank it. And it made me feel a bit better. And then my internet came back on. So I think the two were linked. So yeah, feeling very, very well. Thank you.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster of emotions.
Well, good. Luke's been off on adventures. He's been getting supermarket standard pizza from New York and all kinds of things over the last month, as well as playing some games. We'll get into that stuff in a little bit. But we've also got Dodge. Dodge, you've been a busy man. You told me you're never doing the podcast again. You said you hate everyone here and you're out. But then when we needed you most, there you were, ready to step in and jump on the show with us. So how you been?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. That ain't exactly what I said. But I've been busy this last month doing my other thing that I do. That stuff, family as well, life, bits of gaming, not too much over the last month. But yeah, mate, I said to you, like, as and when I can get on, and the stars are aligned until Luke's internet shit itself. But then we got back. So, yeah, happy to be back with you all.
The other thing is exactly what you think it is. So have a little search for Darge's feet and you'll see what he's up to. Don't do that. So let's do what we do and talk about some games, which is my favourite thing to talk about anyway. And pretty much the only thing I can talk about because I'm pretty one-tracked in that sense. I've been playing loads of games. You've been playing loads of games. Luke, it's been so long since we've been here. Pick anything from the list of the many things that you've been playing and tell us about it.
I've been playing a fair bit. I just finished Split Fiction today, which was I think it ended up being about 12 or 13 hours. Obviously played with my wife, and we both loved it, predictably. I've been like ruminating on whether it's better than It Takes Two, and I think it is, but only just. Obviously, in many ways, it's very similar to It Takes Two, but I think there's an even greater variety of just stuff, like different levels and such. And I will shout out the last hour of the game or so, which, the conclusion of it is unbelievably clever. Like the way in which they bring kind of, like really, really new ideas for the game to the table right at the end. And it becomes very, very memorable as a result. But yeah, it's fantastically fun. Story is like decent, like It Takes Two. It's nothing particularly revelatory or evolutionary, but it's enjoyable, and you're just there for the romp of the various mechanics the dozens upon dozens of mechanics that it introduces and then chucks away. But yeah, that last hour is really clever in some of the stuff it does, which like genuinely stuff I've never seen before in a game. So it's very clever.
That's interesting. That's good to hear because I'm still playing through It Takes Two with my wife at the moment, and we've got plans to move on to Split Fiction when we eventually get to the end of it. But towards the end of It Takes Two, it started to drag a bit. Like, I love the game; it's brilliant, but certain things are like, move on now. I'm ready for this one to finish because Split Fiction's coming out soon. Was what I was saying a few months ago. Still at it, still going through very slowly. But Dodge, do you find yourself ruminating often?
I love a little rumination every now and again myself, but yeah, I can't speak on It Takes Two or Split Fiction because I still don't have friends to play those games with. But I didn't play anything. We'll talk about it in a certain topic, like, but I was Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I think, when we were last on. Excuse me. And I was loving it. And then Kojima just gave me 10 minutes of cocktails and it just threw me. And I haven't been able to think about anything else since. But I managed to go back to Kingdom Come. Also played Metal Gear Solid 5 after Kojima's trailer, which, you know, if anyone's played Metal Gear Solid 5, it's definitely got Death Stranding DNA in there somewhere. Bit of Balatro. Luke advised me. What's that game, Luke? I bought Look Outside. I haven't started it yet. But yeah, that's another one. But yeah, little bits of gaming. Missed a lot. I haven't played Avowed or all these other incredible games that I'm sure you've all played.
What? No, I'm well behind on games. I've not played Avowed. I've had my plan was to do Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 before I get to Avowed, and I've not started those. I've not played Dragon Age Inquisition. I've not played Death Stranding that you bought me 2 or 3 years ago. You know, I'm well behind. So Avowed looks brilliant to me, but I haven't got to it. I haven't got to it whatsoever. I have played though 33 Immortals. That's a fresh recent one. That's been the game preview has been on Game Pass for like a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks maybe, and it's pants.
Is it really?
It's not pants, no, right? It's like it's very clearly inspired by, we'll say, Hades. Doesn't do what Hades does as well, but it's a multiplayer game. So it's like the proposition of multiplayer Hades is immediately quite appealing. The proposition of widely multiplayer Hades, like 33 people running around, that's intriguing. The reality of the game is like it does some things really, really well, but it's structured for grind in every single way. Like there's minimal content in there and you are expected to grind it. So it's just set up, first thing you see when you get in after the tutorial is like a board of daily quests, which instantly, for me, I'm sure I said before, you give me daily quests and I just throw up a bit in my mouth and get that much closer to turning the game off. But, you know, it's part of the industry, I'm used to it. There's daily quests, so be it. Stop whining me, carry on with the game. It's good, right? But there are literally 2 levels in it at the moment, with a plan to add a 3rd at some point. And the way that those levels play out doesn't really change. So it's just 2 levels and you're tasked to do them again and again and again and again and again if you want to unlock anything interesting. So I don't know, like, if they actually plan to address that, and I don't know if they realistically can address it, because they've got a mammoth task ahead of them of trying to facilitate bringing 33 people together at a time. So you can see how design-wise it kind of necessitates having very little content so that people can congregate around it. Like Fortnite had one map for the longest time because you need everyone to be playing together to fill a room. This game has that problem, but I just find myself not wanting to go in that room again. I've done it, and especially one of the 2 levels is piss easy as well. You can quite comfortably breeze through it. So for me, like, it does so much right, and I don't want to grind. I don't want a game that says play me every day, do the same thing again and again to unlock options and get more powerful or whatever. But it looks nice. I like the concept. It's so close to being good. So that's the thing that I've been playing. Have either of you had a touch on that?
No, I haven't touched it at all.
No, it's it just never looked very good to me.
Did it not?
You know, from the moment I first saw it, it didn't interest me at all, and it doesn't.
But you love Hades, though, right?
I do love Hades, but
it's
I don't.
So Hades coded.
Yeah, but it's multiplayer, isn't it? I don't want that in my Hades. I want to be Zagreus and others.
Fair. Yeah. It's not sparking for me, but I was playing it with some people around the Discord server, the community and that, and I think Craig and Demon Hunter liked it more than I do. And yeah, I'd like to like it more. The other thing that's quite I'm a little bit bitter about is its core concept of being a 33-player multiplayer game. And we think that's going to be great for the community because we can get loads of people involved in that. Right? 33 people, cool. We can get loads of people and go on a little rampage. That'll be fun. But you can only actually get in a party of 4. And there's not any way of like organizing and arranging to fill out the rest of the lobby with people that you know. which I don't know, maybe they think it'll be too easy if you could coordinate with that many people, or I don't know what the reason or logic is, but it means actually it's quite limiting as well. If you are looking to get a big group and take your 33 immortals and go slaying, you can't. You can invite 3 other people. So yeah, that's 33 immortals. That's one of the many games I've been trying to play. Various people talking about Atomfall that they've been playing as well. I know that came out a couple of days ago. Loads of people getting through Avowed and Split Fiction. But Luke, what else have you been on?
Avowed is one of the ones actually. I think I've got about 17, 18 hours into that.
Let me trying to remember, because it's been a very long time and you've been traveling the world since then, but it was the case that you were playing something else and Avowed was kind of pulling you away from it. What was the something else?
So the something else was actually Kingdom Come.
And how did this clash of games conclude? Like, did Kingdom Come get finished first, or did you ditch it in favor of Avowed?
No, I've sort of ditched it in favor of Avowed, just because the commitment to Kingdom Come is far greater than the commitment to Avowed and most other games, to be honest. And I will be going back to Kingdom Come because I really loved the 15 or so, 16 or so hours that I played of it. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those which I would just like to try and commit, sole focus to ish. And Avowed is just a bit more. They're completely different RPGs, right? And Avowed's just much more digestible in terms of something that you can pick up and get into, and you can play an hour or two and then you can come off. Kingdom Come really drags you in, and just the nature of the game is very it's very time draining. It's a bit like Baldur's Gate or something like that. Not the same style of game, but it's something that requires a lot of attention, a lot of time put into it, which isn't a bad thing. It's just I just need something I can pick up and play a bit more. And Avowed is that kind of RPG.
I've not got to that. Like I say, I got to finish 2 Pillars of Eternity games before I do. I saw that Obsidian are adding turn-based combat into the original Pillars of Eternity as well. 10 years after the game came out, they're going back into it and completely changing up the combat system to give some people another reason to play it, or to pull in the Baldur's Gate crowd, or whatever the reason may be. They just felt like going and retweaking it, patching it, updating it, and adding a bit of that. For me, I'm not going to use that because I want to play it like as originally delivered before I start playing with alternative ways of doing it. I like a turn-based game, but I don't even know how Pillars of Eternity plays. I don't want to go and sample that for myself first of all. But what about you, Luke? Is that going to bring you back into it at all?
No, I don't think so. I think it's cool that they're doing that, because I think it's the 10th anniversary update. That's what they're doing it for. But it's not like I had my fill of Pillars and it was great. But now I'm gonna do Avowed.
Fair dues. Dodge. Ask Luke your burning questions about Avowed.
I don't think I have any. I think like Luke hit the nail on the head. I think I could tell like when I saw Avowed and what it was going to be. Kingdom Come Deliverance is a lot more like life simmy type. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Avowed was a lot more straight, like the Outer Worlds, right? Do you know what I mean? It was going to be that type with that sort of, magic and sword play and this, that, and the other. So, yeah, I got sidetracked from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 over a 10-minute trailer. I wasn't going to do it for Avowed, but I'll get to it at some point. I think the game's been received quite well, right? Overall, it's been a bit of naysaying this, that, and the other, but yeah, I'll get round to it at some point. Nothing really to grill him on because I know what to expect with it,
Fair enough. Luke, then flip it around. You grill Darge to find out what he's doing with Balatro.
I know what he's doing. He's just absolutely still smashing it, I assume.
I'll tell you, that theme song for that game is fucking like crack. Like as soon as you hear the first couple of notes, I'm in the canteen on site singing along with the song. Like it's just so infectious. That game is, I think I can't remember if I actually had that conversation with Chris Grinnell. I think I said like if Balatro had come around, 15, 20 years ago in a less saturated time now where there's just games all the time, I think it would have been like a cult classic. When I say like a Tetris, for example, I don't mean on the same scale, but something that will stand the test of time because of what it does is just, I love Balatro. But yeah, I've still only got the one win. I'm shit at maths. But I like the card animations. That's what keeps me going.
Yeah, it's very tactile, isn't it? Funnily enough, when I flew a few weeks ago, I actually did pick it up on phone, on mobile, because I was like, it's a perfect type of game for that, and I hadn't played it for probably like a couple of months. So I was like, okay, I'll use it. Maybe I'll get like 20 minutes on a flight out of it and stuff like that. I ended up playing it for like an hour and a half just on a flight. So it's so good.
That's the beauty. It's the beauty. Like Harry Golocki in the chats just said, Balatro, Vampire Survivors, two of the best games ever made. Both hit the same dopamine receptors. Like that's what it is. Like Luke said, you can find yourself just sinking time into the game or just picking it up and playing. Like you say, I've got it on iOS, I've got it on the Steam Deck, obviously I've got it on the PC. I'll have it wherever I can get it. And I'll just, I thought I was onto a winner the other day. I ain't gonna lie. I was, I had all my multipliers up there and I was pissing through all the antis and I thought this is a winner. And then I got to the 8th ante and game went, nah, mate, just dealt me a load of shit and it broke my heart. But we go again, as the kids say. We move.
I've not played that. Well, no, that's not true. Replicant gifted me Balatro and I didn't like it. So I know everyone's against me on that, but it didn't hook me. And I'm glad that it didn't hook me, or I'd have even less time to play all the other games that I want to play. So, there you go. I get it. Everyone loves it. I don't get it. I don't understand why. But how about it? Let's do. Oh, I don't know actually, because it's been so long, right? We haven't done the last 3 weeks of this, which means there are loads of topics and people that are here. If there's anything that you wish we'd spoken about but we hadn't, do stick it in there or stick it in the Q&A box as you do. We're going to talk about a few things. We've got some Death Stranding because these two are obsessed with it and they insist on talking about Death Stranding. We've got some Assassin's Creed Shadow stuff to talk about. Nintendo doing various bits and pieces. But there has been a whole lot more than that going on over the last few weeks as well. So we might pick and choose some other topics as we go and as they occur to us. But before we start doing that, are there any other games that you've had a crack at in the last 3 or 4 weeks that you wish that you had a chance to talk about? Anything that you want to go over and talk about now?
I've said everything that I've played since the last show.
Well, I played Shadows, so we can talk about that. The other one, I've not played much of this, but it's really cool. It's Devolver randomly shadow dropped a game, and I don't even think they'd revealed it beforehand, or maybe they did, but I can't remember seeing it. And it's on Steam now, called Look Outside, and it's like a 2D spritey sort of based survival turn-based horror game. It's like super strange, and it's very unnerving. It kind of reminds me of like Undertale, if that was creepier in appearance. It looks like that. And yeah, it dropped out of nowhere, and immediately I just looked at it and I was like, okay, I'm really interested in this just on the aesthetic of it alone and the fact that it's survival horror and pixel art. And I've played about 40 minutes to an hour, and I just really, really think it's really good. It's set in an apartment block. That's the entire game, is in an apartment block. And something has happened outside, and you can't look outside. If you look outside, something happens to you, basically. And
first thing I would do, I'd get nowhere in that game. If it gives you the option,
It literally is as well.
It does give you the option. It's like one of the first things it messes with you. It's cool because it's a survival horror and it's got this turn-based combat system, but the structure of the game is that, and it doesn't tell you why, but something happens in 15 in-game days time, and you choose how you break up the day, right? So you get up and you can do things that boost certain stats. You can like go for a shower, you can brush your teeth, you can cook yourself some food, you can play on your, fictitious video game console, which gets you like a stat boost on certain things. And then you can go out of your apartment and you can roam and explore and do certain things. And the game will periodically say, okay, it's afternoon now, or it's nighttime now, so you need to, you should be getting back. And then you wake up and you go out and you do what you want for the other day. So I've only got through like a day and a half so far. But it's got all these kind of interlinked systems, and it's just really interesting and just weird for a survival horror game. And the art is genuinely quite creepy. So I'm excited to play more of it. Basically, I think they said it's like 4 to 6 hours overall, so it's not a particularly long game or anything like that. But yeah, it's cool. It's super cool. So I just wanted to mention that if anybody is interested. I know Darge picked it up on my recommendation because he's a brother like that. But anybody else have a look?
I will one of these days. One of these days I will.
You're born nice. Don't
shut up. I will. I've got that 1000x resist installed, ready to look at.
Yeah, God.
Fucking hell.
We've moved on now. We moved on from that.
You can't. You have to wait until I've concluded my ruminating.
I won't even be able to ruminate and remember what happened in that game by the time you finished it.
No, fair enough. I will get to it eventually. I nearly launched it yesterday, actually, when I didn't know what to do with myself.
Nice.
But I didn't quite get that far. Pete, thank you for the gifted membership that Chronic has taken. That's awesome. Thank you for the support in general. So much appreciated. I have played many things over the last 4 weeks. I bitch and whine that I can't play all the games that I want to, but I do get quite a lot done. I've been playing Resident Evil 6, which is brilliant. I don't care what anyone says. It's awful, and it's that's a reasonable counter argument. But I've been quite enjoying it. For what it's worth. So obviously it's not remotely similar to any other like Resident Evils that I play. I guess 5 it's fair enough to compare to. Definitely not remotely scary. Definitely not
the Leon
wonderful.
Leon bit's okay. The Leon bit's
I've not done that bit. I'm doing Chris at the moment. It's very silly.
No.
But sometimes silly is alright. Sometimes silly linear explosions everywhere pile of nonsense is okay. Still looks reasonably alright. The co-op mostly works. We've had a few issues with helicopters glitching out and things like that, but no, it's going all right. I've been enjoying it. I'm going to play more of it. You can't stop me. I used to play Halo Reach. Maybe we'll get back to that this week. That'll be nice.
We shall.
Good. What else have I done? Loads of stuff. Elden Ring. I'm slowly progressing through Elden Ring. I'm not particularly good at it, but at the same time,
how are you finding
steady progress? I love it, but everywhere that you go is just like gorgeous. So just like exploring and I've not followed the story whatsoever really. So when you meet these characters and the people that are there watching on the stream are quite into like their backstory, why they're there, what the purpose of their design is, and all the rest of it, I'm like, you kill them. I kill them. They're dead. Next. That's about as far as I go. And that's flattering myself because what actually happened is I try and kill them and they kill me many times. But eventually I get a lucky run and they die. Then I move on to the next one. So that game is massive.
Who was your last?
I don't know.
Who was your last encounter, boss encounter?
Had two tree sentinels at the top of some stairs were the last boss encounter, and they're not even named. Like they're not a proper one, but they were a pain in the ass.
Yeah, they are.
The last actual named one, I don't know. Can't remember. It's probably like a massively epic battle though. But it doesn't help that I split my game because I played it when it came out like 2-3 years ago, whenever it was, and I put quite a decent amount of time in, but didn't get to the end of it. And then I picked up that playthrough this year, and people ask me like, "Where have you been? What parts of the map have you done?" And I can't remember anything, but I'm having a nice time. Just carry on without having a nice time. Indiana Jones I'm playing as well. It's brilliant and frustrating. Like,
Have we not finished that yet?
shut up.
I haven't.
It's got puzzles in it. They take me a while. It's like, it's so well executed in terms of what they were aiming for and their intent for it. It's so well executed. That doesn't mean that I love every element of it, but I can't criticize what they were going for and how well they landed it. Yeah, massively quality game, which I would like to carry on with. So I'll get to that maybe tomorrow. I don't know. And I've been playing Phantasy Star Online, which is nice to go back in time. I want to play more of the old retro games. I played a bit of Phantasy Star Online, which I still recommend. It's very easy to get on and play that today. There's private servers and clients easily accessible. I think, and I hope that I'm right in this, but I think when Sega shut that game down, they did the right thing in making it open source. Essentially, they let people do private servers and have the client and do what they want with it. So it's there, it's playable, and that's fantastic because it's still surprisingly entertaining for a game that was very much designed around the limitations of the technology at the time. Like everything about it is, you can see how this was necessary for this game to work on a modem. You can't close doors. This is a story that they told after the fact. You can't close doors in Phantasy Star Online because when they had that functionality in there, it just was madness over the modem on a Dreamcast, because you'd have people interacting with doors in sequence and the game would explode because it didn't know whether the door was open or closed, which interaction came most recently from people that had their different levels of latency. And you can feel it in the combat. So the combat in Phantasy Star Online is very like rhythmic, because it's got the mechanics that you see nowadays where your intent is to hit the button at the point that you land a hit to keep the combo going, but it's quite rigid in that. So you get this rhythmic 1, 2, 3 to the combat, which is necessitated for the technology, but works really well. It's just a relaxing game to just switch off, play through with some other people and have a nice time. So, yep, old games are brilliant, new games are brilliant. What else have I been playing? So many things, but that's probably enough for now. It's not, I want to think of more. No, that's enough for now. Let's move on to some of the topics, or the show will run forever. So the first topic, because I've said enough for a little while, we're going to go into Death Stranding, and I'm just going to put my feet up.
Is that it?
Go on, Luke.
Yeah, my feet are up. Take it. Death Stranding.
Well, I mean, much like Darge, actually, sometimes trailers come along where they can't. And I imagine some people might have had this for like GTA when the first trailer dropped for that, where they just sort of like dissipate all your interest in anything else other than the specific product that you've just seen. And it can be really hard to get back into the swing of things. It didn't happen as badly for me as it did Darge, who I think went on some sort of expedition to find himself, himself again.
Yeah,
But yeah, the trailer that they released, obviously, when it came out with the release date as well, was just incredible. I mean, it was just so good. We knew that he'd been working on a trailer for some time. I think everybody expected it to be shown at the last State of Play. But he said he was editing a trailer like a day or two before that, so it never transpired, obviously. And it then took a while for this to come out, but you can see why, because it's a 10-minute, Kojima masterpiece of a trailer.
It's not even, just quickly, like, it's 10 minutes. I've probably watched it about 6 or 7 times. Every time I watch that trailer, I don't think, wow, that's 10 minutes gone by. Like, it goes so quick. It's such a good trailer. Go on, Luke.
I completely agree with that. It's just like it's one of those. I watched it once and I didn't really want to watch it again because it feels like it shows a lot. But the original Death Stranding trailers felt like they showed a lot as well. But in the end, they actually didn't show that much. And because so much of the trailer that Kojima puts out, they're often very, contextless, basically. So they're kind of bits from all over the place. You don't you can't quite. It's not as if you can really parse together exactly what's happening. I mean, that's Death Stranding generally, but you certainly know what's happening if you've played the first game. But there's still a lot of the stuff in this trailer, like Neil, for example, who's one of the new characters, where people are just like, no idea who he is, what his role is, like, you know, what he's doing. So I just thought it was amazing music as well. Typical Kojima, and just visually, I just thought it was astonishingly good looking.
It's like the Decima engine. I recently went back last week. I think this week, mate. Oh, it was this week. I went back to Death Stranding since beating the game, and even just going back to it, it's 2019 game, I think. So 6 years old. It's visually like really impressive. But this trailer, like that shot there, where Sam's got Lou looking up at him, and then it transitions to gameplay where he stands, and just the photogrammetry, it just looks so good. And the different biomes in the game, like the part where he's walking through a forest, you know, and there's like a big cyberpunk-esque cityscape like area, and you know, I completely concede Death Stranding is you either like Marmite, right? You either like it or you don't, or you haven't played it. But for people like me and Luke or Radders or whoever else in the chat who have played the first game and enjoyed it, Kojima, everything that he showed here, it is like, oh, you fucker. Like, I want that now. I need to know. And the way he pieces the storyline, you know, you're like, you're trying to work it out. Like Neil, the new character, you're like, oh, okay, is he the new Clifford? Like, is it, you know what I mean? Like, me and Luke, like, after the trailer, Luke, innit, we're just chatting for ages. Like, and I'm like, 3 days later, I'm like, mate, I've gone down the rabbit hole big time with this. Like, I'm like involved in threads, and yeah, you know, like I said to you before we come live, like I just got back in touch with some friends from when I was in my madness phase, and I was capping for Xbox really hard, and I just labelled this as like the, you know, the FedEx simulator or whatever, without actually playing this game. So I'll take all that egg on my face all the time over this game now because I love it. But yeah, mate, what you're saying about GTA 5, you know, about trailer hype, and don't get me wrong, GTA 6, sorry. When they showed that trailer, I was like, oh yeah, this looks incredible. Like, this is going to be brilliant. And that was the end of it. This, I have not stopped thinking about this game. Like I said, I'm still clinging on to hope that after South by Southwest, it was all PlayStation centric, like focused, and this, that, and the other. I really just pray that, you know, a month out from launch, there's kind of this, oh, and it's also coming to PC, because they've tried to do their hardware push with the PlayStation priority stuff. I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm resided. I think I've even put a note on my iPhone for the 24th of June saying something like, order a PS5 Pro because Kojima's an arsehole or something like that. So I'm ready. I will be here day one, like 100%. I feel like it's a lot of, I don't know about you as well, Luke, a lot more combat going on in this one.
Yeah.
Like a lot more combat in this. It feels like after playing Metal Gear Solid 5, which is very combat heavy, it feels like the first game was an introduction to this world, yeah, and the threats within the world. And obviously Sam's evolved as a person. Obviously, I won't go into the story, but the way the story ends and plays out, now it feels like you're in this place where, you, like he says it, Higgs in one point in the trailer where he says, oh, you swap that rope for a stick. Like you're not like you're using weapons now. Do you know what I mean? Whereas you wasn't predominantly, you was like tripping and like incapacitating like people, knocking them out and stuff like that. But now you're just full blown assault rifling, and so much in this trailer. Like, it was just so well cut, and I can't wait for it. Like FTW saying Kingdom Come 2 will probably be his game of the year. If this is anywhere like the first, this will be game of the year for me all day long, regardless of GTA 6.
So we've got Radders in chat is saying that he can't play this on console, which is like, I'm looking at this trailer and going, wow. I mean, if this is true to the game,
This is allegedly all captured on PlayStation. Like I say, if you look at DS1 or Death Stranding from 6 years ago, it holds up really well. It's a quality game. I'm like Radders, like I spoke to Chris Grinnell about getting the Pro, and he was like telling me about how PSSR is going to get binned for FSR 4 and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I don't care, because if Digital Foundry do a preview video of this and go, the game's 5% better on the Pro, I'm getting the Pro version. And then until that PC port comes, then I'll replay it on the PC. But I need to be where it's best day one. Because there's no way I'm allowing Twitter to fucking ruin this game for me. There's no way. I will want to fight people in the street if they spoil this game for me. So, I'll be where it's best day one.
Why did you watch the trailer then?
The trailer's just to flick your nipples and get you aroused a bit, you know what I mean? Like I was saying, if someone just posts on Twitter, oh yeah, the end of Death Stranding, can't believe, I'll be like, fuck it, I will want blood. So yeah, flick my nipples all day, but don't fucking ruin the game for me.
It's funny as well, because I think on obviously this is Decima, at least on the PS5 Pro versions of the Horizon Zero Dawn remake and Forbidden West, when Guerrilla updated those games for PlayStation 5 Pro, they backported their new image quality reconstruction method, which isn't actually PSSR. It's their own in-house method that they're using specifically for the PS5 Pro. So when you flick on the PS5 Pro performance mode in that's what you get, and it's easily the best image quality I've ever seen on a console. It's unbelievably sharp, and very minimal ghosting and stuff. So presumably this will use the same. So I think it will probably have a PS5 Pro mode, which will probably be 60 FPS with that image quality. So I don't.
That's right.
I don't think people are missing out. I mean, I know you don't want to buy a console. Nobody wants to buy a console for one game, but I think if people are big fans and stuff, I think you're coming from PC especially, and you don't want to wait, I don't think you'll be let down by the visual quality and the image quality of this game. Is what I mean, because
that's what I was saying to Grinnell. I was saying to him, I know the sort of poo-pooey sort of Jekyll reception with the PS5 Pro and this, that, and the other, but as far as I understand it, without remasters and stuff like that, Sony haven't had a new title go onto the Pro yet, day one. And if they're going to prioritize anything utilizing this new hardware, it'll be first or second party. This game's developed in conjunction with Guerrilla. So I have very high hopes that the console version of this game will be immaculate. And we didn't even talk about Neil properly, with the whole Solid Snake fucking tease thing at the end and all that. It's crazy. I can't wait for this game.
Yeah,
June 26th.
Yeah, I very rarely pre-order games. In fact, I never pre-order games, but I pre-ordered this on the PlayStation Store because I just know that this will be good for me.
So you're not getting
I need it,
the models and stuff. You've gone digital.
Yeah, no, I've gone digital. No statue-y stuff for me.
Magellan
man. No big Magellan man for me.
No offense, but they could have given me Higgs. They could have given me Sam. The Magellan man. I was like, fuck that. It's not for me. But and I'll just be waiting for that PC port announcement. If it don't come, then I'll get it bundled with my PS5 Pro.
No.
Good.
What did you think?
I've still got my feet up. What did you think? Was the first time I've seen any of it. I haven't played the first Death Stranding, so when you're talking about spoilers and things, just anything in the second one, main character's going to survive, then I guess that's a shame to know. I wish I hadn't seen as much of it as I have. I'm trying to mentally filter out everything that is happening and everything that I'm seeing, and just look at the cloth simulation to because Pete's talking about the cloth not being good enough for him. So, well, I'm going to look at like how crisp these graphics are, and that's about it, and just try and like mentally block out everything that's on screen, any character that I see, anything that they're doing, anything that's like giving any kind of explanation into the world and all of that kind of stuff. It's only going to take away from when I eventually do get through the first one. So I'm trying to avoid it. That's what I think of it.
I feel like as well, Luke, I don't know about you, but with this second trailer, like, or everything really that they've shown of DS2, feels like as if like you could come into this game and it's sort of going to remind you of things that have passed, but you don't necessarily have to play the previous game to come into this one. Do you know what I mean? Because the story, the way the first game ends, to then go into a sweet sequel, even us as fans are sort of asking questions, going, well, how did this happen? Do you know what I mean? And it feels like they might harken back. You know what Kojima's like for a fucking cutscene? Like, it feels like you could go in at DS2 level and recap on the first game's events, so to speak.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. I think as well, from that trailer, there's a lot of it that makes me think that you're actually going to, like, and this has happened in the other trailers as well, but there's going to be lots of different time periods that you'll play in this game. Like, I think there's some stuff that's going to be closer to the ending of DS1, and then stuff that's like an intermediate amount of time after, and then stuff that's a longer term stuff, after the ending of DS1. So that's trying to be vague to avoid spoilers, but like there's certain things that they show in these trailers where you're like, oh, okay, I think we're dealing with different time jumps here from where we left the original game. So but I think that's good for new players in a way, because it will kind of pick up off the back of the new game and then build a story from the old game, and then build a story from there. And in any case, like, I mean, it's Death Stranding. It's not as if you, like, everybody knows exactly what's happening in Death Stranding all the time anyway, because you just kind of go for the ride, don't you? You know what I mean? So
it says in the trailer as well that the sixth extinction. Like, it says, you can't get away from it, right? So if you come in at this game and it goes, the sixth extinction's still a thing that's going to happen because this is what happened before. Like, and it can tie itself together that way. If this is like, look, we're clutching at straws with guesstimating, but if this is going to be a lot more action orientated title than the first game, then it might be a thing where you can come in at this level, recap on the first game without playing it, so to speak, and have that action, which some said the first game lacked. So, yeah, I just can't wait for it, personally,
Yep.
Well, you're going to have to, because it's not out yet, just like the Switch 2 isn't out yet, but we did get a Nintendo Direct to talk about all the games that are a bit more near term. That's not even entirely true. It's just an awful segue, really. But let's talk about what happened with Nintendo, right? Because I got nothing to say about Death Stranding, and we've seen too much of it already. Nobody likes that stupid game. It's not true. A lot of people like that game, and I'm glad that you two are both so hyped for it. But we're going to talk about Nintendo. So I didn't watch any of Nintendo Directs, but Luke,
what
was in it?
Not much, really, to be honest.
Oh.
Like, it wasn't like, I mean, well, there was a few things, but it felt a bit weird them doing. I get why they did one, but it does feel a bit weird them doing it when we know next Wednesday that they're doing a Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, and we'll no doubt have lots of games there. But this one was clearly, for the most part, just meant to show you, by the way, don't forget, here's a load of stuff coming to the existing Nintendo Switch. That was kind of the nuts and bolts of it. So there weren't any like big Nintendo reveals or anything like that. I did find it quite curious that Metroid Prime 4 was here. So they had a new trailer for that, and it was kind of like a gameplay walkthrough-ish, but super cut. No release date for that in this Direct. Presumably they're saving that for next week. They just recommitted to 2025. I thought that looked, continuously does look really, really good. I think it's very visually impressive for the Switch. And Retro are just a very good developer. So I've got a lot of faith in that. So I don't really need to see loads more of it. I'd just like a release date. And I assume the release date will just be whenever the Switch 2 launches.
Mm-hmm.
So they had that. I think they had more Dragon Quest remakes as well. 1 and 2,
did, yeah.
Right? Which looked nice. I can't say I'm hugely interested in those. I don't know anybody
I kind
really
of am.
those?
I'm not a big Dragon Quest player. I played like half of Dragon Quest 11, and I played one of the other ones along the way. But it's like one of those series, and really Square Enix have quite a lot of these series, Square Enix, whatever you want to call them, that I know I could potentially enjoy if I did put any time into them. Whenever I've touched a Dragon Quest game, I've played some of the spin-offs and things, and I don't really like their blue slimes and all of that kind of stuff that's signature to the series. But I quite want to play. So the first part, Dragon Quest 3, which is chronologically the first of this trilogy that they're remastering, has come out towards the tail end of last year, and I very much want to play that and then move on to 1 and 2 in the order that they're delivering them here. But you know, I want to play everything, don't I? So when I actually get to it, don't watch this space because you'll be watching it for a long time.
Yep. So they had those. The other thing that they had, which I really did like the look of, was I think it's called Marvel Cosmic Invasion. And it's a new game from Dotemu, who made, I think they're the ones that made the TMNT Shredder's Revenge game, right?
They did. And I think Streets of Rage 4 as well, right?
And Streets of Rage 4, yeah. So I've been really looking forward to whatever they were doing next, and the fact that they're doing a Marvel beat 'em up in the classic arcade style, and it looks as good as it does, because it looks really, 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 really good. So that was, it's not a Nintendo exclusive game or anything like that, but that was a really nice appearance, I thought. Something not big necessarily, but very cool. And I just really like the look of that. If it's anywhere near as good as Shredder's Revenge in particular, which I really enjoyed, then I'll be very happy.
I didn't like Shredder's Revenge very much, or Streets of Rage 4.
What surprise! Oh
no, that's not true. I liked it all right, but this one, like, it supports 6 players, right? So it'll be very hectic and chaotic on screen, but I'm definitely gonna have a crack at that. Exactly. No, that wasn't a negative. I'm like, 6 people with the Marvel powers. It's just going to be quite crowded, but but it should be a good laugh to blast through. I think Turtles was quite like a simple blast through.
Yeah.
But, so if it maintains that kind of like level of kind of difficulty and approachability, then yeah, I'll blast through Marvel with people in the community that want to get involved in it, and that should be good. So yeah, so not like a terrible selection of games then, like just that little sampling. You come up with a few things that I'm interested in. You haven't touched on the Pokemon game, which is probably one of the bigger ones there. I think.
Reason for that.
Well, it's fair enough. I'm not a Pokemon either, but Xenoblade, on the other hand, I see there's some presence for that at the show as well, maybe, or maybe it wasn't at the show. A bunch of things, but obviously it was a slightly muted show because most of our Nintendo excitement is naturally about the show that they've got next week, which is revealing more of the Nintendo Switch 2. So a lot of the games that we've seen at this last one have been like, quick, give them some attention, give them some space in the limelight, because as of next week, people are going to be talking about what we're showing right now. Dodge, is there anything that you're hoping that Nintendo show you next week?
Well, you know what? And this ain't even set up because I'm not that organised, but my son left his Switch here. And I've just seen that that's on the store. I don't know if it's going to come up. That is Bellatro there for £12.
Yeah.
So I'm all in on the Switch. I'll support that developer till the day I die. But I think I'm going to get a Switch too. Are we anticipating, like, I know you said about Metroid 4 there being shown at the Switch Direct, which is going to get really confusing. What do we think Nintendo are going to do? Do we think they're going to do like Pro or like Switch 2 patches on existing games so that they perform better? Do you think they're going to do that and try and like charge? So you got your digital library, because I see some bits online. Like I said, I didn't watch the direct personally, but I see something where they're going for that Microsoft Xbox One sort of family share. Like you can your games can be played on a couple of devices now and stuff like that. So do you think they're going to try and do like the chargeable Pro patch thing with these games, or do you think they'll naturally do like the smart delivery thing with Xbox, where if you own those games like Breath of the Wild or something, they'll just naturally perform better? What do you two think about that?
Personally, I would be surprised if they do the Xbox direction of letting you have upgraded versions without a charge. Much as I'm massively in favour of that, obviously, for me being the person at the end of it playing these games, that's massively preferable to paying for that same content. But I don't actually begrudge it particularly. Like if they do, Sony's normally a £10 upgrade, and if they're actually putting some work into it, I don't begrudge that as an upgrade fee. Nintendo as a company not charging the absolute maximum that they can doesn't sound very Nintendo. So I fully expect that there will be upgrades like patches as it were, and I expect to pay for them. For me personally, I bought very little on the Switch because I didn't particularly like it as a device. I didn't particularly like the hardware, but I liked some of the games that were there. So for me personally, I think they're Nintendo, so they're going to be like full price game purchases for anything that I want to pay, like that I want to play from the last 8 years, regardless. Because that's Nintendo, and I'm not celebrating that, but I'm going to do it because I want to play those games. Dodge, a quick question for you though. We were talking about the virtual cartridge thing that they're doing on the sharing and that, but you said right there that you want to buy a Switch 2. Like it's a set thing for you. You want to buy one. Is that because there are particular Nintendo games that you want to play? Is it because you like your portable hardware? Like what is making you want to get another console? Why do you want a Nintendo Switch 2?
Obviously, I own a Steam Deck, so that's my Steam library. I know there's ways around it, where you could get Game Pass on it and this, that, and the other. So first and foremost, the reason I'll be getting a Switch 2 is my son, because he enjoyed Mario Wonder, Mario Kart 8, which I'm assuming Mario Kart 9 or whatever is going to be part of the launch lineup. I would have thought it's been long enough. So for him, it's boxes ticked, right? Like if the library carries over, he's got a couple of games here, Sonic Mania, Mario Wonder. Naturally, upgrade him, dock it. This is a Switch Lite, so it's not dockable to the big screen. So that's one reason why I do it. And then also it will come down to sort of that portability, third-party support and what the third-party lineup's going to look like. Do you know what I mean? And how they're going to perform. Because apparently, like you said, we talked before about the rumoured specs on this thing and stuff like that. And if any of that comes to light, was it the Ampere architecture of NVIDIA? Was it the 30 series architecture? So like if this sort of gear is if this sort of stuff comes to light and the third parties start porting over there and performing really well, then it's just another box tick to own. Right? Mm-hmm. Unless I own those games via Switch. And like I say, a lot of it will be centered. I don't know why I'm pointing there because he's gone to bed, but a lot of it will be centered by the little fella. Because he enjoys, he's absolutely cracked on Roblox on iPad though. The touch controls is, I don't know how he does it, but I'll be getting one for that. And then for my personal preference, I love a Mario Kart game anyway. Mario Wonder was good. I'm not a Pokemon guy. But yeah, I'll definitely get one anyway. It's a worthy investment in this house alone. For me personally, it'll come down to third party, how those games perform, and stuff like that. It's sort of a box that Nintendo need to tick, right? Is better third party. It feels like if these specs come to light, then they've got the hardware capability there to start getting some of those bigger third-party games over. But like I say, it's next week, right?
Yep. Next week we're going to hear more about it. It's like even when you were talking about your lad though getting it, the first thing at the top of your list seemed to be the exclusive content, and then you talked about the third-party stuff as well. For me, The thing I absolutely don't give any shits about is the third-party support.
It's third
Right,
party.
nice for Nintendo, but I can play the third-party games on the hardware that I've already got. So Nintendo,
But
and
that's
not,
what I'm saying. I don't have a console anymore in this house. So like I said to you, unless I buy it on Steam or, I don't even have a Game Pass membership, but if it was in Game Pass, what I'm saying to you is for having one in here for him, for the portability factor, if he wants to play a game, I want to play a game's third party. That's another thing that I'm interested in seeing what Nintendo do. Because as a consumer, the Switch, I did really well. Yeah, great. I'm not a big Splatoon guy. I ain't going to lie to you. So it's not doing it for me. Yeah, I'm not a big Pokemon guy. I'm not even Zelda. Like, it weren't doing it for me, But if they get more third party, then it's even more of a justifiable purchase, if you get me.
Mhm.
So that's my reason. I know you don't give a shit. You own everything, right? So I know you don't care, but
it's not even about owning everything. Like, just generally the whole point of the shared third party content, the multi-platform stuff. Like, if you have access to it, then you have access to it. And for some people, obviously, the Switch is portable, so they might have access to that content on their Xbox or their PlayStation, and still want a Switch so that they can take it with them, and that's fair enough. Nintendo also do have it's people rightly kind of pick up on their lack of third-party support. They actually have incredible third-party support, but not the kind of tentpole ones that people expect, not the AAA third parties. And if they've got the power in there, it's very likely that the likes of Ubisoft and EA and that are going to support it quite strongly when it does come out.
It would also be interesting for their first-party exclusive stuff to see with this hardware what they do, because no offense to Nintendo, but from my point of view, low frame rate, this, that and the other, it'd be interesting to see what they're going to produce on a first party basis, like a performance mode where you're playing Mario at 60 FPS or, whatever the game may be. It's just even more appealing, right? So, like I say, I will watch this direct next week because I have genuine interest in this. I'm going to get one anyway, like I say, because of the little fella, but I'm genuinely intrigued from myself to see a lot more on this device and what it can do.
Yeah. Luke, you do have everything. You went to New York just to get supermarket pizza. How many Switch 2s are you going to buy, and what makes it what makes you look forward to it or otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a big Nintendo fan, so again, like you, surprisingly, the third party stuff is just much the much. I mean, the indie stuff on there is always interesting, and they always, or at least the Switch was very kind of indie centric console. Indie developers really gravitated towards it, and a lot of the first console releases for certain, many indie games were on Switch and PC.
Hades, Hades,
yeah. So they're good for that, but it's all about the first party stuff. And I just think, like, if you look at the map of Switch first party games, it's really impressive. Like, they had a really good generation in terms of quality games. Obviously, many with I wouldn't say technical issues, but limitations, just either frame rate or particularly resolution really is the big one with the Switch. Hopefully they're not going to have that this time. But the main attraction's just, your Marios, your Zeldas, your Metroids, your Donkey Kong in particular, actually. Luigi stuff and Monolith stuff, right? Another Xenoblade or something like that. So it's all of that stuff that's very attractive to me, combined with the fact that it's going to be, even if it's underpowered compared to the consoles, which it probably will be in some respects, it's going to be an absolutely gigantic leap over the Switch. So the idea of Nintendo having that stuff to play with is very exciting for me, to see what they can do with it, and see what they can put out. So yeah, I'll be there provided I can get a pre-order. Obviously, I'll be there day one. I will only buy one for now, but you'll get
surely you'll get one, right? I mean, Nintendo.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They've been no, but I don't mean you. Obviously, you will get one. But what I'm saying is the availabilities of these. You would think they've, the rumours around this device have been going on a few years. You feel like they'd be ready, for mass appeal, right? So,
I mean, they should be. I guess the only issue is that I think there was a story months ago that they like ramped up manufacturing to produce like 7 or 8 million units this year, like for launch, as in from the launch period to the end of the year. And if launch it's going to be 6 months, let's say in June, that's going to be 6 months to the end of the year, which is a rumor at the minute. Then you would that's a lot of units just for half of a year, but there is a fair chance that this will be more popular than that. So I don't know how convinced I am that they will have enough units to meet demand, because I really do think this is going to be a massively, massively popular device, and it may exceed even Nintendo's higher aspirations for it. Basically, that's my fear. I hope it isn't that. I hope it sells extremely well, but that I can just get one. But it's going to be one. It's going to be one of those where you will have to be there for the pre-order launch. Like you're gonna have to be in there trying to get one, basically.
You would think though that Nintendo wouldn't. They're going to allow. Not everyone's going to jump ship straight away. So you're going to get people to stay behind. So if you get the units for the enthusiasts, and the people that have to be like the FOMO people like myself who have to be there day one and this, that and the other. And then like you say, you've got 6 months of them in the wild and then the hype can start building and then they can get on top of Christmas and stuff like that and then tick on from there. But I think you'll be all right for the start. I think they'll anticipate the enthusiasts, the FOMO, and then give that 6 month period for the holiday, as our American friends like to call it, and then see where it takes off from there.
Yeah.
So, HDR, Luke, you're finally going to get HDR on a Nintendo console. That would be good, yeah. As you were saying, you can't play HDR anymore. What do you mean, maybe? They can't not.
Maybe. It's not. Nintendo. Like it's Nintendo, isn't it? So they won't. Like I hope so. I hope that. I think it's pretty certain they're not going to launch with an OLED model. Which I mean, that's not relevant for anyone. Probably like you.
Into their OLED, yes.
Exactly. Yeah, that's not going to be relevant. For me, it is because I use the Switch mostly as a portable device. But I can get over that if the LCD is good enough. A lack of HDR would be a dagger to the heart. But I'm like, I'll sacrifice, like for Nintendo stuff. I'll be okay.
On the TV, isn't it?
It's Nintendo. I don't know. Like they should do.
But speaking of though, so you're right. It is Nintendo. So here's another question that you won't be able to give a solid answer for, but I'm going to ask anyway. Right. So there's loads of talk around the industry in general. Microsoft have obviously gone very much more open in their software publishing. You can play a Microsoft game on any platform, and they're quite open with the fact that they intend to do more and more of that going forwards. Right. So loads of games across, everywhere. Right. They do it on their direct rivals. They do it on anything that can run a game, which is fine. There's lots of talk that PlayStation are like not as fully into that as Microsoft, but they are going more in that direction as well. You can get your PlayStation games on a PC, you can get your PlayStation games on a Switch sometimes. They don't seem to like Xbox very much, but they are kind of progressing towards releasing games in more places rather than strictly pushing exclusives. And Nintendo, on the other hand, are still very quite... Like, you need a Nintendo bit of hardware. If you want to play a Nintendo game, get your Nintendo hardware. Is there a timeline, or how long is the timeline, if ever, for Nintendo to start embracing other platforms to open up a bit more?
I don't think they ever would.
Just saying no. Never's a big shout though.
Well, not never, but not in my lifetime.
They don't like. It's weird with Nintendo, isn't it? Because they, everyone would like their stuff, but they're like,
we're all buying Switches.
Like you're fuck. Well, the date, like the data don't lie. Do you know what I mean? Why change something if it's not like we've said at length? Like I have my opinion about Microsoft doing what they're doing. timed exclusivity works. Like I said, Sony, you take Sony for example. If Death Stranding don't come to PC for 6 months, they're getting another console sale from me. So that works. Whether it works to the extreme that they want it to work is a different matter. But Nintendo do what Nintendo do, and it works for them. So they don't have to budge. You know what I mean? If anything, they want Microsoft sliding their knickers off, going, "Can we put Game Pass on your system, please?" Like that, and then they go, "What are you going to do for me?" Like, do you know what I mean? They're in a weird place, Nintendo. Like, they don't have to bow or sort of change what they do. It's weird. It's weird to see, but
yeah.
Go on, mate.
No, I was just I completely agree. Like, I mean, the fact is that they sell the most hardware. They have the highest attach rate for their games. They have like ridiculous attach rates for their first party games, like stuff that even Sony would love, like some of the attach rates that Nintendo get. And the games that they produce are not expensive games. Like, they're not games where, you know, they're pumping hundreds of millions into them. So their profit margins on this stuff and their hardware must be it's like astronomical. So there's what's the point of sending something elsewhere? You know, you can get more money, but is it you know, is the juice worth the squeeze with it? It's probably like, I don't know if it is. I don't think it is at all for Nintendo. And also, I mean, like, from a, you know, weird Nintendo perspective, I guess I don't think they would particularly ever like putting their stuff on PC, because then people can mess with it, right? They can mod it, they can do things like, and I can't imagine Nintendo will go for that. Like, they don't like stuff like that. So I just, like I said, in my lifetime, I can't ever see them, you know, doing a Sony, let's say, and having a delay from console to PC launch or doing anything like that. They're very protective over where what they do and where they put their games and how they publish their games. So I just, their franchises in particular are just so synonymous with the brand of Nintendo and the hardware of Nintendo. And I just can't see them ever changing.
It's like, you know, Master Chief going to PlayStation, you know, and everyone was like, Jesus, like, that's crazy talk. And then, like, the talk of, you know, Kratos possibly going the other way and this, that, and the other. But you think about Mario and you think, can you ever see you playing Mario anywhere else? And it's like, you talk about value of IP and stuff like that. Mario's synonymous with Nintendo. And it's just like Luke said, all the money, everything, all the sales, they got all the data there. They're like, why are we giving this away? Like, we don't need to give it away, you know?
No need.
Like, they're absolutely happy and content with how they're doing until shit hits the fan for them, you know? And it's not to say shit has hit the fan, but we've seen with Microsoft and PlayStation, they're evolving their business strategies and stuff like that for whatever reasons. But Nintendo are just still doing Nintendo bits. So they you know, listen, if this Switch 2 bombs, then we'll see. But, you know, I just, that'd be crazy. Yeah, that'd be crazy seeing Mario on like fucking Xbox or PlayStation. But who knows?
I'm not anticipating it either, but, you know, got to ask for the industry commentary, as it were. The other thing that Nintendo announced, rather than just games and things, ahead of the Nintendo Switch talk, and ahead of a potential problem with the Nintendo Switch, people asking questions about their digital libraries and when they've got these two devices around the house and all the rest of it, they've announced virtual game cards in a very Nintendo way of handling digital sharing. You can now virtually stick your game on a cartridge and share it with people in your family, passing that virtual cartridge around between switches so that other people can play the games. You can purchase them once and you can play them across multiple devices. Luke, have you had a chance to see how this actually works? Like what the terms are? What's going on with it? Is it good?
I think, I mean, I must admit, when I was watching it and I was doing some work. I was like half watching this direct, and then I was like had it on, and I had that virtual cartridge segment on, and I must admit that there's nobody else quite like Nintendo for taking like concepts that should be very simple and making them really complicated. because I remember getting to the end of it and I was like, what did they mean? Like, what is this exactly? So, and I still haven't actually like read into what they do, other than the exact concept that you've just described, which is that it's kind of, at least part of this is a proper game sharing scenario. So you can share the virtual cartridges, which are essentially just digital licenses for a game, across your friends and family. I don't know how much physical interaction you need between switches, because they were talking about this on the segment, that you needed to like be close to a switch for certain things and stuff like that. I'm not too sure, but I need to have a look at it more. But I mean, at least in terms of just the concept of being able to game share, that's cool. Like, you know, that it's cool that Nintendo are adopting that, and I don't think it's something that Nintendo would have particularly been expected to do, which is what makes it good, you know, because it's fairly consumer friendly. But how it works in practice, etc., I'm not too sure.
It's like, I find it really interesting because it's one of those things that the industry has struggled with in general, is the migration from physical to digital, and people's expectations of how like ownership works, what it means to buy a game, whether you can share it with your friends, what you're used to. And the Switch in particular, being portable and being cartridge based as it has been, it's all very tactile, and people have a very clear understanding of what it means to buy a Switch game and hold it in your hand. And what they've done here is, like, we're looking at it thinking digital licenses and wondering how you transfer them and how it all works and what's actually happening in the background. Like, and you can see it and you can look at it in that way, and you see the little notifications on there when it says like what you need a connection for, how you're checking in these games and all the rest of it. There's a few questions and curiosities, like the proximity thing that you mentioned. But ultimately, the way that they're presenting it feels like it probably is just going to make sense to people that have that understanding of a physical game. Like, it's a Nintendo way to move into the digital world that people will just go along with without really feeling like they're losing out, without having the usual arguments about what it means to buy a physical or a digital game, in the way that we've seen back and forth for the last like 10 years across PlayStation and Xbox, as people kind of adjust to what it means to not be able to trade games and do secondhand stuff and all the rest of it. Nintendo have gone, here it is, it's going to be like you bought this bit of plastic. It's going to work in a similar way, and you're going to be able to adjust without really, hopefully, overly thinking about it. Yes, you can buy a game digitally and share it with your brother, your sister, whoever, you know, like the way that people just expect things to work when they buy them. So I'm surprised to see it, but I'm kind of glad that they're doing something at least. And we'll see if it's because you get different terms across all the different consoles. The PlayStation and the Xbox are very, very similar in the way that they're sharing and their home console concept works. Steam is a little bit different. Google Stadia was actually fucking awesome for game sharing back in the day, believe it or not. So yeah, this is Nintendo's take on it. But go on, Dodge, what are you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, like, I'm watching that little video back on the stream there, and all this just screams out to me is, have you got more than one kid? Yeah, well, now you only need to buy one game. Yeah, because you can share them about. That proximity stuff is like Luke said, it's pro-consumer. And that little graphic there just screams to me, if I've got two kids and they both want to Switch, get them on both, but they can share the game. Whether that works or not, or what the, you know, like on Steam, for example, where you can library share. They've changed it now. But there was a time where you both couldn't play this game at the same time. Do you know what I mean? And all that business. But that graphic that was just shown there just literally screams to me, buy one game, share it in the house. Because they're notorious with being expensive. It's probably a criticism that they got in the last gen, right? Was it like 60 quid a game, you know, or whatever? Seems like a smart move. But like you say, you don't know the full ins and outs of it. Yeah, I don't know if there's like only one user can play the game at one time, and
yeah, I think once you loan it out, you loan it out.
Is that what it is? Once you loan it over, you can't get it back
until they release it. Graphic, yeah,
you know, parents ain't gonna, or if they saw that graphic anyway, they ain't gonna pay too much attention to the here and then.
Like, that's how it works if you buy a cartridge, isn't it? If you've got that bit of plastic in your hand, you can't put it in two switches at once. So they're just replicating that experience as close as they can so that people are more comfortable buying digitally. And obviously, Nintendo, like everybody else, digital favors them because they get more of the money. They don't need to share it with Tesco or GameStop or whatever. Yeah, so it's interesting to see. Also, I don't really have any friends, so I don't care. I'm going to buy the games and keep them all to myself. But
well, that just with quickly, those cards that they use for the games, they're just normal SD cards, right? Effectively,
Switch 2 is the same. Yeah,
because that's you would assume with the sort of third party stuff that I've been saying about that, you would assume they're definitely going to push more in a digital one now because of the capacity of those cards. Can they go that big for that amount?
Yeah.
Oh, they can go pretty big, can't they? They go like, yeah, they do, don't they? Oh yeah. Shut up. Ignore me.
Stick like a terabyte game in there. Why not?
Don't know why I still thought they were like a 64
gig
or something. I swear I've got one in my camera as well. I don't even know why I said that. Ignore me. It's I'm usually asleep by now.
No, that's all good. That's all good. Look, what else did we have to talk about today? There were more on your list of topics. Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah, so Assassin's Creed Shadows out. I launched it to have a look at it. That's as far as I got because I don't play Assassin's Creed games because I'm not stealthy. Stealthy is for cowards and wankers, and sometimes I'm a coward and a wanker, but I don't do those games. Still, Assassin's Creed Shadows, I've seen various clips of people slashing up like the scenery, and I like slashing stuff up and making things explode. So I thought I'm going to give that a go at some point. I've had a Ubisoft Plus subscription for the last decade and never used it for anything because they haven't released anything that I like, really. Assassin's Creed Shadows looks worth a go. You've been playing it. Is it good?
Well, I was going to say maybe Shadows is actually Assassin's Creed game for you then, because given you don't like stealth, because actually it gives you a character where
I don't want to play that character.
Style, well, you're buggered then.
The other one has the other character has the swingy chains that slice stuff. So I'm going to use her, but not stealthy.
Yes, now I do. It does, yeah. yeah. So, well, you could do that then. Yeah, you could do that. Just a bit of a glass cannon, but you could have a bash. So, yeah, I've only played about 4 hours, which in Assassin's Creed terms is probably like less than 1%. I don't know, but the 4 hours that I did play, I've been really impressed with it. Actually, like a big fan of the older Assassin's Creed games, so the more linear-ish ones, the ones that weren't RPGs effectively. So particularly AC2 and Brotherhood and Black Flag and all that stuff. I liked Origins. I didn't really like Odyssey that much, and then I hated Valhalla because they just got to the point where they were so time-consuming, they were so vast, so overwhelming that it just, they just weren't for me. This one is very big. It's still a very big game. It's still a very big RPG. But one of the things, obviously, it's set in feudal Japan, and I think as a setting, that's an extremely compelling setting. So I'll always be attracted to playing a game that's in that environment. And they have said it's smaller. It's the game world is not as big as Valhalla, which is a plus because that was huge. It was too big. The 4 hours I played it, it's been really good. I think on a technical level, it's incredibly impressive. It's a very good looking game. They've made some really, really big upgrades to their engine. So I've been really impressed with how it looks and sound design, and a lot of the kind of just moment-to-moment gameplay is very enjoyable. My wife is actually a big modern Assassin's Creed fan, so she kind of began at Origins, and she put in hundreds of hours to Odyssey and Valhalla, and she's already played about 34 hours of this. So she's played a fair bit, and she absolutely loves it. She thinks it's really, really, really good. Not just in terms of moment-to-moment gameplay and the environment and all stuff like that, but she's really enjoying the story. And I've heard from other people that the story is particularly good in this one, which isn't always the case for Assassin's Creed games, because sometimes they just trundle on and go off the rails and just become uninteresting. But this one does seem like it has some good hooks, certainly from the first 3 or 4 hours. So it's a vast game, but it's one I'm definitely gonna dive into it when I get more time, like properly dive into it. For now, I just really like loading it up and just seeing all the pretty stuff that's on screen.
It's a good game for benchmarking, isn't it? If you just like getting PC hardware and seeing what it can do.
Yeah, seeing what it can do.
It doesn't have a benchmark though, right? Does it have a benchmark? I don't think
It
so.
does. It does have a benchmark. It does.
Where?
Yeah. It's in the options menu. You have to go into the graphics. It's like either in the graphics options menu or it's if you from the main. I'll show you. But it does. I wouldn't say it's like an amazing benchmark, but it does actually show a lot of information that's quite useful. So, and has good HDR as well. Has very good HDR. Very nice, and it's needed for this game because feudal Japan is such a contrasty thing. So
fair enough. I said like ahead of this one coming out, I'm weirdly finding it quite appealing to play before seeing the recent like destruction and things. For someone that has not touched the Assassin's Creed series because it was birthed as a stealth IP and it became less stealthy over time. Like I don't think Valhalla is. The vibe of running around with an axe isn't very stealthy. Like that game probably does appeal to me in a sense, but I've not been a big fan of like the Ubisoft formula. I think they are kind of moving past that in general. Like they are learning lessons from the industry and they are responsive to the complaints that they're getting about that. So Avatar was quite different to like Watch Dogs Legions and all the rest of it. So I'm quite interested in playing this one. I do want to give it a go. And it is a visual showcase to push and go, oh, look what a PC can do now or whatever else. So I'm going to give it a go. But unrelated to Assassin's Creed Shadows, off the back of Assassin's Creed Shadows, but not as a consequence of it, Ubisoft have created a new subsidiary backed by Tencent to look after key IP. It's like Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, and I don't know, whatever their other big one is. Luke, does that alarm you? Is it remotely interesting? Is it boring, tedious stuff that people that play games should completely ignore and be oblivious to? Like, what's going on with Ubisoft and their Tencent subsidiary?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's just this weird like intro group restructuring thing that they're doing. I don't know whether it's not alarming as such. It is a sign that the company is not struggling, but looking for ways to get more money.
Mm-hmm.
Basically. So and that by essentially spinning off the subsidiary, Tencent have invested, I think, like $1 billion or something into this new sub, and get a pretty significant part of the share capital there. I think it's like 25%. The Gilmore brothers still have control of the company at this point, but obviously the waters have sort of made murky by this new structure. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't think it's concerning as such. I think it's probably the best thing that the brothers would have wanted in this, because they still retain
maintain that control,
control of the company. But it does mean that Tencent are even more invested in this now and probably have some, there's certainly more of an emphasis on delivering better returns compared to what they've been getting. So, I think it's interesting. It's helpful for I'm not going to go into like super detail, but it's helpful for Ubisoft's debt structuring as well, because they carve off this entity that has no debt now. So it can, from a balance sheet perspective, look very good. And it's also interesting that they've only taken certain franchises and kind of done this sort of licensing agreement with this subsidiary so that it can create, games based off of that and that sort of thing. It's not all the games. I can't remember which ones they were, but it's Division was.
It was Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six,
Far Cry.
Yeah.
Where did Far Cry go? That stayed with Ubisoft, didn't it, rather than the subsidiary? Or I only recall seeing 3 IPs going over, and they didn't take Tom Clancy as being one IP because that was split.
Yeah.
And Splinter Cell was like stealthing in the shadow somewhere and went nowhere.
Yeah, so it kind of looks like basically they've taken all their like really like their big successful franchises and put them in this not put them in this sub, but that's the intention of the sub to develop based on that alongside the studios, obviously.
Oh, they did take Far Cry.
So they did, yeah. So like Splinter Cell and Watch Dogs, be damned. Don't care about those. So like I found it interesting, but it's probably, I mean, if I would say if people didn't want Ubisoft to be taken over by Tencent, then this is pretty much the best news that they could have right now. But in the future, I don't know what the state of the company is going to be like. The good thing is they've clearly had a big success from Shadows. And I know people go on about, well, I'm not even going to go into the debate about 3 million players for Shadows versus 3 million sales and stuff like that. But clearly it's been a big revenue maker for Ubisoft and they needed it. The difficulty is going to be not with this game, but with the projects they have going forward, what they can do with them in terms of commercial success, because they've come off, even though this has been successful, they've come off the back of many projects that just haven't been very successful at all commercially. So watch this space, I think.
I will watch it intently.
Good.
Intently. So that's all I've got for Shadows. Dodge, did you have anything on Assassin's Creed in general?
No, just like the polar opposite of what Luke's missus has been feeling. Like, to be fair, I liked Odyssey. I played some of the early Assassin's Creed games. I didn't play, what was it, like 3, Unity, Syndicate, Brotherhood, like all these fucking ones. I didn't play them. Didn't play Origins, but like obviously Colt and all that were loving that. And then Odyssey came out. And I gave that a go, but fucking honestly, you say about Kingdom Come and time and this, that, and they demand a lot of your time. There's a lot of stuff to do, and I put a good amount of time into Odyssey, and I did quite enjoy it. And then Valhalla came. Oh, it's in England, like, oh, this will be exciting, and when you load it up, and then you're like, oh yeah, it looks like England is shit, and I just didn't enjoy it. It was, I didn't. It lost me, Valhalla. I think I had it on the Series X. I think it came out around launch time. Impressive, like on the Series X, but a game on a whole, no. Then that Mirage, was it Mirage that came out after the shorter experience? And then they were saying, oh, that's going back to its roots. Kind of did, but I still didn't like that. So this has come out. I like the setting anyway, I've listened to some reviews on it, and it seems promising. Obviously, Luke's looked at it, yet to play it. It's probably one of them games I'll probably pick up in a Steam sale or something at some point, just to give it a bang. But yeah, Assassin's Creed is not a big one for me. And just on the Tencent Ubisoft situation, I mean. It's probably good in a way that those, because it was all a little bit up in the air, wasn't it, with Ubisoft, like, all the pressure of the world was on Shadows and blah, 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 blah. And then they've got that, so I know I say I'm not a massive Assassin's Creed fan, but the next one, is it codenamed Hexen or Hex or something?
Yeah,
Hexa. Yeah, so that one's like, apparently, is it like Germany, like witchcraft and all this stuff? Like, it's going to be quite dark. So maybe that's the twist in the series that I might need. But it's good that they've kind of secured those big titles to a degree going forward. I mean, Far Cry 7... There was rumours what was the rumours around Far Cry 7? It was going to be like some sort of 24-hour clock thing where you had to get out of... It was some really weird concept considering the usual. So it's just good that these games are going to see the light of day. But yeah, just give me Splinter Cell. Like, it's literally not even a fucking joke now. Like, Splinter Cell and Chaos Theory on the original Xbox were just incredible. It just, it makes you wonder sometimes. You see some of these remakes like Silent Hill 2, Resident Evil series, and you think, yeah, we could just ship one of them out and it'll sell, and they just don't do it. So, like I say, they're not, well, their future's sort of a little bit more secure with this subsidiary thing. But yeah, just give me Splinter Cell. That's all I want. Maybe a new Rayman as well for good measure, because I do like a little side scroller.
Oh,
can never go wrong with one of those.
on the same page there. When you said Rayman, I was like, not the 3D one though. Do it like Legends. Legends was brilliant.
No. Yeah, Legends
Legends,
and Origins. I think they were both pretty similar anyway, but they just good fun, you know. But yeah, that's all I've really got for Ubisoft. I'm not going to pretend I know about business, you know. So that's me.
Fair enough. Let's move on to our questions, I think, because it's a good time for our questions. I don't know how many we got, but the first one is already up. So this is what we do at the round table. We always get to the questions at the end, and it's one of the best bits. But the first one is just for you, Darge. It says, it's FTW. Ooh. The Darge Knight. Are you enjoying Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 more than the first game?
Yeah, I think I am. I think the first game has got that cult loving status because of what it did. But, you know, it was still impressive back then. And like we said before, Luke, like when the game first launched, CryEngine as well, this sequel is just so impressive. Like, you know, I know it's not based in England, but it looks English countryside and stuff like that. And you can just sort of look around in this game and just be like, fucking, like, it is really impressive. Clearly, like, the budget and the production levels in this game, you know, even the cutscenes and stuff like that, even the characters, FTW, you know, like Zishka, and some others, like, they've added some new things to it. I just think it's great. Like I say, I'm a little bit disappointed in myself because Kojima come and showed me a bit of fire, and I've just got sidetracked off of it when I was absolutely loving it. But I jumped back in recently, got past the sort of stealthy part that I was in, and I'm sort of back on it. But yeah, I think it's definitely. It's one of the, you know, like I don't get bent up over the Game of the Year conversation and this, that, and the other. But when a game launches early in the year, sometimes it gets missed. And I really hope that it gets, you know, kind of like what Balatro was getting at the Game Awards. It gets a lot of recognition, you know, and it doesn't just sort of go amiss as the year goes on, leading up to sort of November time. Because, yeah, I think it's incredible. So, yeah, I am loving Kingdom Come, what I have played of it, the sequel, FTW. Thank you.
From what I've seen generally, like consensus around it, the first game was fairly divisive in that some people loved it and some people found it too heavy and horrible. But I think as far as I can see from the outside, both camps of people like the second one more. Like it's won over a lot of people that didn't like the first one, and the people that did like the first one just see it as an improvement all the way. So yeah, they've definitely made improvements in certain areas. Like I say, with the combat, like I say, so with the first game, I said this to FTW, I was just trying to beeline the main story without doing any side content, and then I hit a wall about 3/4 of the way in where I wasn't developed enough to sort of have the abilities to move forward. So I was like, fuck it, I'm jumping out. I think it's Iron Horse Studio. They released like a recap video on the story, so I got it there to get into the sequel. But yeah, they have changed some things. The combat is better in this game, still challenging, but it's better. And generally, just everything on the whole is much better this time around than the previous. But I still really enjoyed the previous game. I really like what they've gone for with the game. You know, like with their, I'm not a big RPG player, like a full blown RPG player. And like I think I said it on here, or I've definitely said it to like Luke or that, but like Cyberpunk 2077 was an RPG that I absolutely loved, and I would have this over it. I'd have the combat out of Cyberpunk, but the world and the stories in Kingdom Come 2, you know, it's just good. It's just good writing, just good time. It's good stuff. Right, I'll play it eventually. Next one, right, this is from Isla, and it says, I got 3 Minecraft McDonald's toys so far. Apparently, I have to buy Happy Meals to get all of them. Luke, what's your favourite gaming toy or model?
Favourite gaming toy?
You've got loads of, I can see a Predator behind you. You must have some gaming ones, right? I can see, is that Iron Man up there or something?
Yeah, there's, I don't think you can, well, it's probably the one next to Predator. Hang on, let me see if I can jimmy my chair all the way back, but it's the Doomslayer.
Yeah, I see him. Yeah. So he's out of focus, but he's there.
Yeah, so he is there. So I have that on, and oh no, I've got a few. I think Doomslayer is probably my favorite. There's a one back here which is the Hunter from Bloodborne, which is really cool as well. So yeah, maybe one of those.
Fair. That's your answer. That's the question related to my toys from McDonald's. It's the best I could do. I tried to turn that into a question. Let's do let's do the next one. Guys, have you got any like gaming paraphernalia? Anything that's not a game?
No, I'm not allowed to have anything like that because I have children who I had one thing that I really enjoyed building. It was what do they call them? Was it like a diorama or something like that? And it was a Lego Sonic the Hedgehog Green Hill Zone, and I built it, and it had the loop, and Sonic was on it, and I put it up there on the floating shelf, and my boy fucking loves a challenge. He got up there and just smashed it to pieces, and and that was that. That was the end of it. But yeah, I don't have anything like that. But I tell you what, I do really like. I like Radders has ordered that BB like statue, and I also really like. Did you see them jackets they were wearing at the Death Stranding 2 thing? The actual, they're fucking.
Yeah, they're quite nice.
Get me one of them coats, and I'll be in your debt forever. But yeah, no statues. I mean, I'm lucky enough. I've got this little corner of my room where I can actually play video games, so I take my wins where I can.
Fair. Next question is already up, and this might be one for you, Luke, because I've not had a look at it. It's thoughts on Half-Life 2 RTX. Some fans are complaining about the fog, and Demon Hunter doesn't mind it. All I know about Half-Life 2, I know two things about it, right? One of them is that it's fucking 80 gig or something for a demo, which is why I haven't tried it, because that's a good couple of days download with my connection at the moment. And the other thing is I saw people saying it's not as good as base Half-Life because you can't, some of the physics objects aren't physical. Like you can't interact with them in the same way in this one. They've changed a couple of things that people like to play with. I've not seen any other feedback about it apart from it looks pretty. Luke, have you actually tried it?
Yeah, I tried it. Yeah, it's got two levels, Nova Prospect and part of Ravenholm, that you can try out. And it's like really impressive. Like, I mean, it's all path traced Half-Life 2, right? With kind of remade assets. So it's very, very impressive. It's extremely demanding, but it looks great. And it's, as you say, it's gigantic. I haven't noticed the physics thing, so that's news to me. But it feels, the only thing I didn't like about it was it feels like there's some engine latency going on. Like it doesn't feel as responsive as I remember it back in the day. Probably because the path tracing is adding to latency and stuff like that. But it's really impressive. It's Half-Life 2, but kind of remade. I do find it interesting that some people, and I saw this a couple of times, some people are like, well, it doesn't, they've kind of ruined or modified in a negative way the art direction of the game, because it doesn't, it's not as if the locations look exactly the same as they did in the original, but of course they don't, because it's all like physically based materials now with path tracing. So obviously it's all going to look kind of just a bit different because it's, there's an accurate simulation of materials, light and shadows and all that stuff going on. So I don't really particularly like that form of criticism because one, the original game still exists if you're only going to play it. And two, what would be the point in a remake of the game if it just looks exactly the same as the original? That's not the intention. The intention is to bring it up to modern standards. So I think it's really cool. I am interested though what the size of the full game will be.
It's scary, right?
Like, sure, yeah, it's a bit scary. Maybe this is just a demo build and the sizes will change and stuff. There'll be more compression, but I don't know. But yeah, it's impressive.
I will get to it when there is like the game to play in it. The thing that actually stopped me, I had it downloading and I cancelled it. I think Demon Hunter told me that there's no music in it. And that's like, it's reasonable. It's a demo. It's showing off what it needs to show off. But it made me go, so it's not actually a game yet then, really. Like, it's not a game yet. So I'll wait. But yeah, there you go, Demon Hunter. Have at it. Use it to benchmark your fancy graphics card. There's another question that says, Rayman Revolution, best Rayman. Which 3D Rayman have you played? I've played that one, Isla. I've played 3D Rayman games and I don't like them. Don't like 3D platformers in general, though. This isn't a secret. I don't like Mario Odyssey either, and that's very controversial to some people. I like 2D platformers more than I like 3D platformers. Have either of you played Rayman Revolution?
No, because I believe Rayman should remain 2D side-scroller. So don't change the formula for me. I haven't played a 3D one, nor am I interested in it. Sorry, Isla.
Can't do their music levels in the 3D one, so it's a bust. Luke, do you like you gasped when I said I didn't like Mario Odyssey? You like a 3D platformer?
I do, yeah. I don't like all 3D platformers, but I really, really like 3D platformers generally. But I can't say, I'm sorry, Isla, I just can't say the Rayman Revolution was a very good 3D platformer. compared to like your Mario and that sort of stuff. But yeah.
Rayman 3 has music.
I mean, the mechanics in
like
Rayman are built like, yeah, the mechanics in Rayman are built for side scroller, right? Like the whole fucking swinging and all that stuff, like the fist, the flying fist and stuff like that. You can't be doing that in 3D.
I'm the same, Dodge. I have to say, Mario was built for 2D. The way that he jumps doesn't work in 3D for me. So I agree with you entirely.
Nintendo would say otherwise, but I hear you.
But I'm stubborn.
I hear you.
Right, that was our questions for this week. Weren't they delightful? So thank you everybody that stuck around. I know we had a dodgy start. We were like 40 minutes late before we got going, and I told everybody there was no podcast and made everybody go away. So thank you to those that noticed and came back to talk to us through it. If you watched it after the fact, much appreciated. All the usual stuff. We are back doing the podcast now. I'm not sure Dodge has committed his Saturdays elsewhere, so he won't necessarily be here next week, but every now and again I am looking to get one or two other people involved to keep it fresh and exciting for everybody. But we are going to be doing this as often as we can now, so thank you for coming by. Luke, say, I'm not going to tell you what to say, you just say what you want.
Just say things. I don't know really. What could I say? Death Stranding 2.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
That's
all there is to say.
Yeah, getting a better outro than that.
Yep.
Well, we'll do the outro after the next question because one's just snuck in at the end there. So we can try that outro again, Luke. But first, Peter's asked, what was the first game you played that made you realise you were sort of addicted to them, that gaming was now a permanent fixture in your life?
That's a good question, that.
I knew it from the moment I had the Atari ST speech synthesizer that I was going to be playing something. Just typing in words and having it read them back to me, that was a start when I was like 2 or 3. And then the games that came with it, I've loved games forever. The first one that made me actually get something of my own, though, was Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which I consider my kind of starting point, even though I actually played quite a few things before it.
I'll just quickly jump in and say, yeah, either Sonic, I think, if I remember rightly, I think it was Sonic the Hedgehog 3 on... I think I had it on the Master System, and it was like a shit version compared to the Mega Drive version. Either that or Alex Kidd. Just to keep going back, the swimming level on Alex Kidd was fucking carnage. And yeah, I think stuff like that. And then obviously Pro Evo 4 come along, and then that was it. It was all over. After then, I was fully hooked.
Not Pro Evo. I think it was. I think for me, I remember playing Donkey Kong 64, and just being like this. Like it wasn't even my game or console. It was like a friend's, and I'd played stuff before that, but I remember that specifically as like that sort of trigger point where I played that for an hour. I was like, oh man, like I need to like play more stuff. You know what I mean? Like I need to like really dive into this now. And then from there, it just absolutely snowballed until now, really. So yeah, now I can't envisage not playing games ever. So and you know.
Yeah, Donkey Kong. You bring in Donkey Kong as well. I remember Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo. That was another game. I remember beating that, and I was like, yes, I love that game. I don't know why. I thought it was so, because the Super Nintendo, like you had Super Mario World, and it was still like that cartoon looking thingy. And then Donkey Kong Country come around, and it was just like, what? Like it was literally like that wow moment. It was like, this looks incredible. Like the games ain't gonna get better than this, you know. Donkey Kong Country was such a good game.
Yeah.
There you go. I think
now we've got
don't forget to give us your
2.
answer as well. Death Stranding 2, yes we do, in the near future. Gaming more passion, you expected Quake 3 for me. I loved and put thousands of hours into Quake 3, but I was well into games before that happened. Pete's was Asteroids. Should have guessed.
Yeah. Tetris was another one, actually, thinking back on the Game Boy. No, Tetris, yeah, thinking back now, knowing what I know, I could definitely see addictive tendencies in me with a Tetris. Like the super like off-key speed, and you're like, fucking like trying to do it. Yeah, good times.
Good times indeed. Islas was Lemmings or something. Fair enough.
Yeah, Lemmings.
Good. Games are awesome. So, yeah, that will carry on. So, Luke, let's try that again.
Yeah.
Say what you want to say.
Death Stranding 2.
Is what he wanted to say the first time. He has not changed over that period of time. It's still what he wants to say now. Acceptable. Right, that's it. That's what he's going to stick with. All right, Dodge.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in at the last minute and helping out with putting a show on. I hope you had a good time.
Right.
Say the things that you want to say.
I always have a good time with you two. You know what I mean? I just life's a bit busy sometimes, and just at that time, like every Saturday, I was a bit like, but times are changing. The sun's out, everyone, so times are looking good. But yeah, no, it was good. It was good to do it with you. I see a Gaming with Passion put it in the chat, and it just made me laugh. We didn't, because we had done it for a while. The old what's not to like.
No,
but
you can't
we'll do that next time.
Coming in.
Yeah, next time. But yeah, yeah, you can find me on X, scarcely, or here when I'm here, or just patiently waiting for Death Stranding 2, like a good boy.
Personally, I'm not waiting for Death Stranding 2. I'll play it eventually. So there we go. Not to be controversial or anything, but kind of have the same stance on a game, right? So that is the end. There will be probably nothing tomorrow. I've committed tomorrow to other things, but there will be split streams coming during the week. There'll be other like Elden Rings and things on the other little channel thing going on. The usual kind of stuff, but the best way to keep up with it is by joining the Discord server. The link to that is in the description of the video. Thank you, everybody, for coming through, and I'm pressing the button that kills it all. It's the end.
Stay safe.